Father Dan Reehil is a Roman Catholic priest and exorcist. He was on the Sean Ryan show. The video was uploaded on October 28, 2024. Last I looked, the video had 3.7 million views. Now, Father Dan said some things in the interview which concern me. He said things which I do not believe that a discerning person would have said. And I think that what we have coming from Father Dan is the bad fruit and symptoms of the Vatican II religion, which is not Catholic, not Christian, not Orthodox. They lack discernment, and I believe Father Dan lacks discernment, and I'm now going to explain why. They were talking about psychedelics. Father Dan admitted that psychedelics are out of his realm, but I think he was too easy on them. He said he's not an expert on drug use and directed Sean to another priest in his diocese. He compared the responsibility of a hypothetical 40-year-old man using this under a self-imposed set of guidelines, monitoring himself and being careful, comparing him to the youth who may go in too quick and too hard and damage themselves. This is terrible. This is terrible information coming from Father Dan. He admitted he's not an expert on drug use, but he has no problem with a hypothetical 40-year-old man using this under a self-imposed set of guidelines, monitoring himself and being careful. This is ridiculous. Father Dan, you're not a psychiatrist. Who are you to permit this? So you're not a psychiatrist, and also on a spiritual level, this is dangerous. People should never touch psychedelics. I will direct your attention to my video on DMT, which I linked to in the description. Okay. Now, Father Dan endorsed the apparitions of Medjugorje, sorry if I mispronounced the word, and said that it was recently given the highest approval of the Vatican. So I think this is another symptom of the apostasy of the religion that is currently occupying the Vatican. This religion in the Vatican is not Christian, it's not Catholic, it's not Orthodox. They lack discernment. The nonsense coming from Medjugorje is ecumenical and heretical, and I will link to an article. People should not trust the apparitions coming from Medjugorje. They are ecumenical and dangerous, heresy. Now, Father Dan claims that God spoke to him, saying, listen, I'm going to use you to bring healing and reparation to people who have been hurt. He said, the Lord said to him, can I ask you a question? God said, I want you to remember this. Then God goes into a statement. Father Dan said he could hear God's voice in his mind. He claims God has spoken to him in his mind. He said he once asked God how he was going to die, and God answered him. In all honesty, this sounds like something I would expect to hear from a Pentecostal, not a Roman Catholic priest and exorcist. Okay, Saints Ignatius Brianchaninov and John Climacus wrote that seeking visions or voices can lead a person into delusion. Okay, so you shouldn't trust voices, believing that they're coming from God. Okay, Sean brought up recurring numbers like 444. Father Dan said he doesn't know what that means when he sees 444, but he said for him, when he sees a triple, it's always Trinity. Father Dan, why do you think it's Trinity? When did God ever say that when you see 3 numbers, it represents the Trinity? Where did you get this from? Did you just completely make this up? How do you know it's not a demonic mockery of the Trinity? And Father Dan said, at times like this, when you see recurring numbers, give God glory and be aware of his presence. Sean looked online, and the meaning he found was that guardian angels are watching over him at this specific time. Father Dan did not rebuke this and mentioned that today is the feast of the guardian angels. Father Dan lacks discernment. This is occultic numerology. It's not Christian. 444 is associated with the non-biblical, non-Christian angel Metatron. Kabbalistic. Okay, this is not Christian. This is numerology. And yet they have this man performing exorcisms, and he's a priest in that religion. This is ridiculous. This person doesn't have discernment. Maybe he has discernment in a lot of other areas, but I've just demonstrated here that he's actually lacking in discernment. Okay, now I'm going to give some more information in the description, and I want to encourage people to get out of the Vatican II religion. It is not Christian. It is not Catholic. It is not Orthodox. It is apostate. They've lost discernment. And if you're serious about authentic, genuine Christianity, you need to become Orthodox. And I'll go ahead and conclude this video.